Tom's fingers hovered over the keyboard, eyes tired from hours of sifting through test data. He wiped his hand across his face and leaned back just as his phone buzzed. He glanced at it. Unknown number, local area code. He ignored it. 10 minutes later, during a lull in the data stream, he picked up the phone again. Still no name, just a single message preview. Watch closely. You've still got time. Bradley's, 6 p.m. His brow furrowed. A second later, an image loaded, and the moment he saw it, the world tilted. It wasn't the explicit nature that got him. It was the mole, a tiny dot on the inside of the left thigh. He knew that mole had kissed it 100 times. Alice, his wife, 6 years together, and now this. He stared at the picture until his throat went dry. Bradley's, not her usual bar. In fact, not even in the same city she supposedly flew to an hour ago. Her flight to Boston was scheduled to land at 4:30. By now, she should have been settling into the hotel, prepping for that big Monday presentation. She texted him before boarding, "Can't wait to finish this proposal, love you." But she hadn't texted after landing. He tapped out a reply to the unknown sender. "Who is this? Where did you get that photo? You want me to meet you at Bradley's?" Then a calm text to Alice. "How was the flight? I'll grab something to eat. Call when you're free." Just as he got to his car, another message came through from the unknown number. "I'll be there, but you'll find someone more interesting than me." That line set off alarm bells. He drove fast. 30 minutes later, he pulled into the Bradley's lot at 6:12 p.m. The parking lot buzzed, but Tom moved on instinct. Inside the pub, the lighting was dim, heavy with the scent of fried food and beer. He scanned left, bar, right, dining room. He took a seat at the edge of the bar, ordered a draft, and kept scanning. Then he saw it. Her, Alice, sitting pretty in a sleek black dress and pearls, laughing, tapping her glass against one held by a man in a tailored blazer. Pete, her colleague, his hand lingered too long on her wrist. Tom stood. He didn't feel the floor, didn't feel his steps. He reached their table like a storm rolling in. Alice's eyes met his smile, fading into wide-eyed panic. Pete didn't see it coming. Tom grabbed a handful of his hair and yanked him sideways. The man lost his drink and his footing in one move, crumpling to the floor with a yelp. "Don't get up," Tom growled. "I mean it." Pete sat, blinking up, soaked and frozen. The table had gone silent. Tom turned his gaze to Alice. She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Tom looked at the others. He recognized them. Betty, Bill, Hannah, Bob all had been to their house, shared meals, smiled. He turned to Betty. "Bill thinks you're in Boston. Bob, does Hannah know you're here?" They stared at the table. He left. His hands were shaking by the time he hit the driveway. He didn't remember the drive home, didn't remember the streetlights passing by or the sound of his turn signal. Just the creak of the garage door going up and the metallic slam when it closed behind her car 20 minutes later. Alice walked in wearing the same black dress. Her heels were gone, pearls tucked in her clutch, hair slightly frizzed at the edges. She looked like a woman who'd just left a party too fast. She dropped her purse on the console and walked into the living room where Tom sat, beer in hand, one leg resting over the other. She opened with, "It's not what you think." He didn't blink. "Alice, you have no damn clue what I think, but let's clear the fog, huh?" She tried to hold his stare. Failed. "I didn't plan it," she said. "It was spontaneous. You were in a hotel, then suddenly at Bradley's drinking champagne and pearls. That's spontaneous. We changed plans last minute. Pete said it made sense to stay local and rest before the big pitch. The others followed." Tom took a long drink. No, the others didn't follow. They were already there, like they'd done this before. It was just dinner, Tom. He laughed, dry, mean. That what you call it now? Alice stepped closer, voice hardening. You embarrassed me in front of the entire team. I have to walk into Monday's meeting like nothing happened. That's on you. He leaned forward, elbows on knees. What's on me is trusting you. What's on you is using that trust like toilet paper. She didn't respond. He pulled out his phone, swiped, and held it up. The photo. Alice flinched. I've kissed that spot 100 times. Don't tell me it's not you. She sat down slowly, her legs crossed like they were still negotiating. We're a close team, Tom. We've been working insane hours on this deal. Pete said these nights help with morale. You slept with him. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. She exhaled. 6 months started around the time of the Chicago contract. He nodded once. And the others? She didn't answer. That told him more than words ever could. He stood up. If you want any shot of saving this joke of a marriage, you better start with the full truth. Now? She looked up cold, defiant. You don't run me, Tom. Not here, not anymore. He chuckled. Sure I do. For the next 12 hours, I run every single second of your life. What happens next depends on what you say now. She tilted her head. You threatening me? No. I'm offering you a damn lifeline because when this hits the board, you're not getting demoted. You're getting buried. She finally cracked. Pete's not the only one. Bill, Art, a couple from legal, maybe Betty. We kept it quiet, but it's been going on a while. It started as fun, then became strategy. He walked to the window. You traded dignity for performance metrics. I traded nothing. I climbed. You stagnated. He turned back, jaw tight. You climbed over me, she smiled. And I'm not sorry. You were holding me back with your Boy Scout ethics. A moment passed in silence. Then he whispered, Get some sleep, Alice. Tomorrow's going to be rough. He didn't wait for a reply, just turned and walked down the hall. That night they didn't share a bed. He made that call, not out of anger, out of clarity. Some lines, once crossed, don't get redrawn. Tom hadn't slept. Not really. He'd closed his eyes a few times, but his mind stayed on a loop. The photo, the confessions, the things Alice had said without blinking. The lies, the truth beneath them. It all spun around until it scraped raw. At 9 a.m. sharp, Alice strolled into the kitchen in jeans and a tank top, barefoot, carrying the weight of someone who hadn't been hit, betrayed, or caught. She poured coffee like it was just another Saturday. No good morning, no, I'm sorry. Just poured, slid a mug across the table toward him. Then she looked him in the eye and said, You'll keep quiet. Tom stared at her. That a question or a statement? She sat across from him, casually sipping her own mug. It's not a threat. It's just smart. You go public, you go down too. Maybe not legally, but reputationally. You're in some of the shared folders. You've signed things. Signed things because I worked on them, Tom said, not because I slept my way through them. She didn't flinch. The press won't care. The board will panic. You'll be painted with the same brush. You'll be radioactive by Monday. Tom leaned back in his chair, watching her closely. Is that the line you used on the rest of your little team? She reached into her laptop bag and pulled out a folder, slim but full of intent. Inside, NDAs, timestamped documents, call logs, and a printed draft message. You send the text to Betty and Bob, she said, placing it on the table between them like an ultimatum. You tell them we're stuck in Atlanta. Weather delays, the usual crap. It'll look like you and I are together in Atlanta. You'll be our alibi. No one will be able to prove we were at the bar last night with Bill, Betty, Pete, and the others. He didn't touch the folder. You keep saying you will, like we've already agreed. Alice smiled tight and controlled. It's not agreement. It's inevitability. You don't want to be the guy who tanks $1 billion deal because his ego got bruised. You're not that selfish. Tom stood slowly. You know what I think? He said, voice flat. I think you're terrified. You're trying to spin a collapse into choreography. You'd lose everything, she said quietly. So would you. Tom picked up his phone from the table and calmly tapped through it. He pulled up the photo, the one that started it all. He turned the screen toward her and slid it across the coffee table. Alice blinked just once, and he knew from the shift in her posture that the denial phase was over. He hit record on his voice app, dropped the phone into his shirt pocket, and waited. Our team, she started, then hesitated. It's a tight group. We carry the weight. The others, the ones with families, they don't handle pressure well. So some of us, we formed a smaller unit. Pete said it helped morale. Let me guess, Tom said. Closeness leads to trust. Trust leads to productivity. Productivity leads to you screwing half your team in the name of team spirit. She flinched, but didn't stop. You don't understand what it's like to fight for a position to break through. I did what I had to do. You had choices, he said, and you chose him, and Art, and Bill, and whoever else thought loyalty was spelled in body parts. She looked away, then back. We're the most productive team in CR Incorporated history. You benefited too? Tom stared at her. That photo. Do you want to know what night that was from? She asked, a smile twitching at her lips. You were on your late shift. That's the night you texted me, said you missed me. I told you I just turned in. I was still in that dress. His heart thudded, but his face didn't change. And now? He asked. She leaned in slightly. Now you sent the messages. Bob and Hannah, they're close to cracking. If they blow this up before the board presentation, everyone burns, including you. Especially you. Just send the texts and we figure out the next step together. What next step? Tom snapped. There is no next. You, your sick little team, and Pete can take your proposal and shove it. I'll find a lawyer, and I'll make damn sure you lose more than just your bonus. She paused. Just a moment. Then her voice dropped to a pleading whisper. Tom, if we lose Betty or Bill before the presentation, CR could take a $30 million hit. That's commission fallout. That's your pension gone. Our house. All of it. Just send the message. Please don't let ego destroy everything we've worked for. Tom stood, folding the folder closed with one hand. You worked for it, Alice. I just didn't know what the currency was. He walked toward the hallway, not even glancing back. But before he reached the door, he turned slightly. Text your friends yourself and pack your things. You're not coming back from Boston. And he walked away. Tom drove to the office, picked up a few things he'd left behind, avoided eye contact with the colleagues. Tom had stepped inside the office bathroom to wash his face. The sting of betrayal, the pressure of silence, the twisted games. They all clung to him like the sterile fluorescent light overhead. The mirror showed a man running on fumes, bruised pride, raw nerves, but steel in the eyes. The door opened. Pete walked in first. Armani suit, sleeves rolled, fake calm. Bill followed. Bigger, broader, silent as a wall. Tom didn't flinch. He saw it coming. This was the next move in Alice's little persuasion strategy. Pete locked the door behind him. Let's talk like men, he said, voice slick with corporate venom. Tom dried his hands. This isn't a talk. It's cleanup, damage control. Bill took a step forward. You're going to keep your mouth shut. You're going to play along, or we'll make sure Croar has no reason to keep you around. Tom nodded slowly. No cameras in here, huh? Pete smiled. Exactly. Let's call this a gentleman's agreement. Tom dropped the paper towel in the trash. Funny, you don't strike me as a gentleman. Bill grabbed his arm. Wrong move. And then time slowed. In Tom's mind, a voice from years ago rose clear. Staff Sergeant Troy Baker. If a man grabs you in a narrow space, don't fight his strength. Use it. Shift his balance. Break the rhythm. Then break him. He twisted into the grip, dropped his weight, and slammed his elbow into Bill's gut. The big man grunted, surprised, winded. Troy's voice echoed in his mind. Leverage the wrist, then shift. Always move first, and don't stop once you start. Tom moved. He caught Bill's knee with a hard sideways kick. The crack wasn't loud, but the yell sure was. Bill dropped hard, clutching his leg. Pete rushed him, clumsy, arrogant. Tom sidestepped, grabbed the collar of Pete's shirt and slammed his head into the side of the stall. Pete crumpled against the wall. He wasn't out. Not yet. He blinked, blood running from his nose, a dazed grin spreading across his face. You're just another weak nerd, he slurred. Do what we ask, and maybe we'll let you have her when the team's done. Tom's fist connected with Pete's face. Once hard, clean, Pete slumped to the floor, out cold. Tom stood still, catching his breath. He looked down at them, Bill groaning, Pete unconscious, and said nothing. He straightened his shirt, wiped his knuckles, and unlocked the bathroom door. The hallway was quiet, but he knew it wasn't over. These guys didn't stop after losing in the light. They'd wait. The day passed like a blur. Who could he trust? No one. By evening, Tom stepped out of the office. The parking lot was nearly empty, just a few scattered cars. His Accord sat in the far corner where the streetlights didn't reach. And then, suddenly he heard it. A rustle, heavy, quick, then pain. A sharp crack across the back of his head sent him stumbling. Before he could yell, something heavy slammed into his ribs. He dropped. A voice hissed in the dark. Keep your damn mouth shut. Then footsteps running, fading. Tom lay on asphalt, blood wet in his hair, breath shallow. He managed to crawl back inside. He tried to yell, but only a rasp came out. Somehow he managed to crawl the last few feet to his car. His keys slipped from his fingers twice before he finally got the door open. He didn't drive. Didn't dare. He pressed the emergency button on his phone and gasped into the speaker. I've been attacked. Parking lot. Kurar. Dispatch asked for his name. He gave it. Then everything went dark. The emergency room roar of antiseptic and questions. Tom sat upright in a narrow bed, his left side wrapped tight, head bandaged, broken rib, mild concussion, bruising across his jaw and spine. He'd told the paramedics he'd been jumped by someone in the lock, told the ER nurse he thought it might be tied to a work dispute. But when the hospital asked if he wanted to involve the police, he'd said, no, not yet. Too many things still in motion. At 6:30 a.m., the curtain slid back. A woman stepped in. Early 40s, navy blue suit, blonde bob, heels too sharp for compassion. She didn't introduce herself like a nurse. She didn't check his vitals. She carried a black leather portfolio and the scent of politics. Mr. Granger, she said, cool and professional. I'm Dana. I represent Kara. Tom didn't speak. She opened the folder. No medical forms, no legal warnings, just NDAs. A letter confirming full medical reimbursement, a release agreement, and a check. $500,000. Your silence, she said, laying the check gently on the tray beside him in exchange for peace. Tom looked at the paper, then at her. You think I'm scared? Dana didn't blink. I think you're smart. And smart people don't fight fires with gasoline. You send someone after me, he said, voice growly. Prove that. He exhaled through his nose. Tell Art he should have sent someone tougher. She offered a smile that didn't reach her eyes. You're tough, Tom. But you're alone. He leaned forward slightly, ignoring the throb in his side. Not for long. Dana stood, slid her card across the table. Don't wait too long to decide. Timing matters. She left the check, left the papers, left the room. Tom didn't sign anything. He just took the folder. Tom arrived home around 9 a.m., bandaged, bruised, and silent. His ribs ached, and he moved slower, but his mind was razor-sharp. Alice was already in the kitchen, dressed, composed like she'd been waiting. She didn't ask about the hospital, didn't ask who called 911, didn't ask why he hadn't died. She just said, You can still fix this. Tom stared at her like she wasn't real. You sent them to beat me into silence. Alice didn't blink. I didn't send anyone, but I didn't stop it either. Honesty, he said dryly. Nice change of pace. Then her phone buzzed. She glanced down, then tapped the speaker icon. Art's voice came through, smooth, measured, chilling. Tom, let me begin with an apology. Pete's methods were unsanctioned. Cray doesn't condone violence. That said, this can still end well for everyone. Tom didn't answer. You've had a rough few days. We understand that. So let's simplify things. Alice will forward you a secure Cayman account number. $5 million already deposited, tax-free. Consider it compensation for your silence. Tom's jaw tightened. You can't take emotions to the bank, Tom, but you can take this. Tom exhaled through his nose. The feds might act, or they might drag their feet for months. This wasn't justice, but it was leverage. I assume this offer expires, Tom asked. Quickly, Art replied. You've seen how we handle delays. Tom nodded once. Then consider it accepted. Art's voice disappeared. The call ended. Alice lowered the phone and smiled faintly. You did the right thing. Tom turned toward her, quiet for a long beat. You think this fixes anything? It buys us time, she said. Money, comfort, you and me. He laughed low and bitter. You and me. She stepped forward slowly, hand brushing his chest. We were always good, Tom. You had a funny way of showing it. I was under pressure, she said. We both were. But now we have a chance. We could start over, new accounts, new future. Just us. She reached out, tried to touch his hand. Tom didn't flinch, but he didn't let her. He looked her in the eye. Either I hit you too hard, he said softly, or not hard enough. Alice blinked. What I mean with the truth, he said, with consequences, with something you didn't expect. He stepped back, calm, cold. This thing between us, it's gone. Whatever we were doesn't exist anymore. She stood frozen in place, watching him gather his keys. He didn't look back, didn't slam the door, just walked out like the house was already ash and smoke. That evening, Tom's phone buzzed again. A message from the same unregistered number. Short, precise. No emojis, no nonsense. You have questions. I have answers. Tomorrow, 10:30 a.m., Lakeside Cafe. East Lot. Sit outside. Don't be late. There was something in the tone, clipped, direct, that stirred a memory. It wasn't just someone on the inside. It was someone who knew how to move like a soldier. Someone who understood the value of timing, of silence. By the time morning came, Tom had a feeling he already knew who he'd be meeting. The next day, Tom arrived early and took a seat outside. The cafe was quiet, low chatter, soft music, nothing out of place. At exactly 10:30, a man approached, upright posture, square shoulders, calm like a man who'd seen worse days than this. "Mr. Granger?" the man asked. Tom looked up, and just like that, the guess was confirmed. "Troy Baker," he said. Troy gave a nod. "Didn't think you'd remember me." Tom smiled faintly. "Didn't think I'd see you again." They sat. No handshake this time, no small talk. Just two men who had already skipped that part years ago. "I joined Carr's Defense Division 2 years ago after I retired from the Army," Troy said, kept my head down, then got moved over to Pete's team 6 months back. Didn't take long to see it. The whole setup, the favors, the manipulation, and Alice. Tom leaned forward. "She came after me," Troy said. "I turned her down politely at first, but Pete didn't like that. Suddenly, I was getting the worst travel details, blacklisted from calls. I saw how they isolated anyone who didn't play along." Tom nodded slowly. "That photo you sent me, how'd you get it?" "Pulled it from a shared drive Pete didn't wipe clean enough. I figured you had a right to know, especially after what I heard went down at Bradley's." They fell silent a moment. "I was hoping you'd remember what I taught you," Troy said, giving him a half grin. "Looked like you did," Tom chuckled under his breath. "You have no idea how much. That bathroom fight you saved me years before it even started." Troy raised an eyebrow, and now Tom reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded USPS receipt. He laid it flat on the table. "Department of Justice, overnight, Washington, D.C. I took the $5 million, Tom said, but I mailed them a flash drive too. Audio recordings, names, timelines, enough to make someone sweat." Troy didn't move for a beat, then nodded firmer. "You always were the quiet kind, not the weak kind." Art said, "I couldn't take emotions to the bank," Tom muttered. "You just bought something better," Troy said. "Peace of mind." They sat there a little longer like soldiers in a war that hadn't made the papers yet. Then they stood, shook hands the way they had back when things were simpler, and walked away in separate directions. No goodbyes, just respect and unfinished business. 2 days later, Tom sat across from his attorney in a quiet office with frosted glass and a faint smell of old coffee. The man flipped through a slim file, pen tapping. "She signed everything," he said. "No objections, no counterclaims. She's walking away." Tom kept his eyes on the document. "She keeping the house?" The attorney shook his head. "Nope, she gave it up voluntarily. Said she didn't want it anymore. Claimed she's moving on. Probably prepping her exit strategy. She trying to leave the country. Wouldn't be surprised," the attorney muttered. "But it won't help. If what you gave the DOJ holds up, she's screwed no matter where she runs." Tom exhaled slowly. "Good." The attorney closed the file. "You did the right thing doing this. Now if she gets indicted while you're still legally tied, it drags you down too. Now you're clean." Tom stood, offered a firm handshake. "Thanks. Get some rest, Mr. Granger." Later that day, Tom pulled up to his house. The house felt emptier than usual, hollow, like something had already been torn out of the walls. Tom walked through the door quietly. The sound of cardboard rustling echoed faintly from the upstairs hallway. She was here. Alice, still packing. He didn't say anything right away, just stood by the doorway watching as she zipped a suitcase closed and stacked it next to two others. She was dressed like she always was when trying to impress someone. Tight jeans, clean blouse, makeup sharp, like this wasn't a fall, just to change a scene. Then she saw him. Her lips curled, her eyes narrowed, and then she spat at him. The saliva hit his cheeks. "I didn't think you'd have the nerve to show your face," she said. "You always were predictable, spineless. The quiet ones always are." Tom wiped it off calmly with the sleeve of his jacket. "I came to watch you fall." She laughed, high, loud, desperate. "Fall? You think this is a fall? You bitter little man." He tilted his head slightly but didn't answer. Then a knock, loud, repeated. "Bam, bam, bam!" Alice flinched. "Federal Bureau of Investigation." A voice rang out from the front door, firm and unflinching. "Alice Granger, we have a warrant for your arrest. Open the door immediately." Her eyes went wide. She froze for half a second, then bolted, not to the front, to the back. Tom didn't move. He just turned and watched as she flew down the hallway, yanked open the rear door, and ran straight into the rose bushes. Literally, her sweater snagged. Thorns tore at her sleeves and skin. She tried to pull free, but the more she struggled, the deeper she got stuck. "Get me out of this. Let go." Agents were already surrounding the yard. Two of them rushed toward her. One grabbed her by the arm, another by the shoulder. "I didn't do anything. I didn't even... This isn't fair." Tom stepped outside, leaning slightly on the railing. She saw him again, breathless, tangled, wrists behind her back now. "This isn't over," she said through clenched teeth. "You think this makes you right? You think this makes you better?" Tom didn't say anything, didn't smile, just watched her get walked out of the rose bushes and toward the front gate, cuffed and bleeding like he told her earlier. He came to see her fall. Tom sat at the airport terminal, boarding pass in hand. Tamarindo, Costa Rica, one way. On the screen above him, a news anchor laid out the story. Sources confirmed the investigation began with an anonymous tip. 4 arrested on site, including senior executives and project leads. Charges include procurement fraud, conspiracy, and obstruction. A photo flashed. Alice, Pete, Betty, and Bill being led out of the Crow building in handcuffs. Their faces looked pale, shattered. It was over. Tom stared at the screen for a moment longer than he meant to. He didn't feel triumph, not even closure, just weight, like something heavy inside him had finally settled. He had lost nearly everything in the process. The stable life, the job, the woman he once believed in. But in that moment, watching them go down, he knew he hadn't lost himself. Not really. And that somehow was enough. Tom looked down at his phone. A new email had come in. Subject: account status notification from Bank of Grand came in. Dear client, this message is to confirm that account XAX has been formally closed per standing request. Funds are no longer accessible. We thank you for your business. Tom smiled faintly. Too late. He had moved the money quietly, strategically. They gave him $5 million to stay silent, and he used that silence to burn them from the inside out. He didn't take revenge out of rage. He did it because it was right, and because they never saw it coming. Over the PA, his flight was announced. Gate 22. Tom stood, grabbed his duffel, and walked. He didn't look back, not once.